Good afternoon. Welcome to our broadcast. I'm Kim Walker with Gabalot Consulting, and I am here to discuss what we need to think about as we begin to start a business. For those of you who have been following my social media over the past several days, at least for this month, then you know that I've been engaging my audience on the Build a Business Challenge, in which we talk about the ways in which we begin to build a business, talk about the ways in which we begin to think about introspectively how our mindset should be when engaging a business. And so, for the time being, and for anybody that is already joining me, please let me know if the audio is okay, and we will go ahead and get started with our discussion this afternoon. And so, thank you all for joining me. Again, I'm Kim Walker, an online educator as well as a business consultant and a business launch strategist. I help aspiring business owners, new business owners, and also people who've been in business for a while, but the businesses are stagnant, to come up with ways to become profitable and to make your business grow. And so part of this conversation will be today, we'll be talking about the things that you need to think about, things that you need to ponder as you begin to start your business. So the first thing we need to think about as we are embarking upon this endeavor, we need to consider, what is the why? What is the motivation? Why go through this? Well, let's look at what has happened over the last year and a half. We have been involved in so much upheaval and so much of a disruption of our normal way of life that many people began rethinking, how do I want to, move going forward, coming out of this pandemic. I still believe we're in it, but how do we want to do business, our lives, post-pandemic? And so I think people begin to think about those things, because a lot of people were affected in many different ways. Of course, by health, our economy has been impacted. There's been job loss. There's been, job reduction in terms of the workforce. Those of you who are finding out, going back into your normal activities of trying to even go to a restaurant, there are not enough workers to serve you. And so there's many different things that are happening within the context of our way of life. And so even before this journey, I had already embarked upon this notion of starting a business, because I had this vision about 15 years ago, and but didn't act on it. But I always did kind of side projects. I've always been not only bivocational, but trivocational. For those of you who do not know me, I'm a minister. I'm also an educator, and I've worked in the nonprofit field for well over 20 years in helping with nonprofit fundraising. So I've had a variety of experiences, and it occurred to me that while I'm making millions, and in fact, some organizations helping them with my expertise, making, lots of money, it wasn't benefiting me except for a salary. Okay. So one of the things that since I was bivocational and I worked as a minister, one of the things that I ended up not using any vacation time for vacation, but using vacation time to deal with ministerial activities. And so I needed the flexibility. I need to be able to, if I need to conduct some other activities, I need to be off. And so for me, it was about flexibility and freedom. So not so much. And of course, in the process, the real advantages is that I was able to double my salary once I left 9-to-5 employment. So let's talk about a little bit. There are a lot of people saying, ditch your 9-to-5, go ahead and start this kind of remote from work from anywhere lifestyle. But what a lot of the influencers and the gurus don't tell you is they don't tell you the process. They don't tell you, hey, they're kind of using these ways to attract you by saying, oh, you can get 6 figures in 6 days, or you can make $1 million in a month, or whatever the gimmick is, whatever the hook is to pull you in. But a lot of them are not telling you, and it looks like they're an overnight success. They're not telling you the hours that you spend. They're not telling you all the preparation work that is done. They're not telling you the risk and the reward. They're not telling you about the failures. They're not telling you about the sleepless nights. They're not telling you about the lost money. They're not telling you about that stuff. And so you really, before you embark upon this journey, need to think about what is your motivation? Is it to serve in another way? Is it to utilize your expertise? What is the reason for deciding that you want to be your own boss? We see these kind of, hey, I'm bossy. Hey, be your own boss, and boss has kind of taken on this connotation of, you're a ball and you're doing the doggone thing. But at the same time, what's behind that? What got them to the point where they could work 4 hours a day and still make a bukus of money? So let's talk about that. So if you've been following my stories in any of the social media platforms that you may have been following me, then I've been presenting to you the mindset shifts that you need to consider before starting a business. Now, during this month, I'm going to be having some classes on logistics. I'm going to be having some classes on how-tos. I'm going to be having all of that. But before, this is what I would hope that someone would have told me before this whole thing started. I've been kind of doing it. And it has, luckily the process for which I've had to go through, I've decided to use that to help people to kind of avoid those minefields. So let's talk about it. So today I'm going to talk about 10 or 11 mind shift things that you need to think about before you embark upon this business journey. So the first thing is that you've got to be highly motivated. You have to be, in order to be an entrepreneur, you have to be a highly motivated person, but not just highly motivated, self-motivated, which means that you have to possess the level of discipline in order to engage in this process. There has to be a reason for wanting to be here. There has to be something that's going to drive you, that's going to make you want to get up in the morning when there's no alarm clock or no official place to go to. So you've got to begin to think about the real why and what's going to keep you motivated even when you're going through very dark times. So the first thing you must be motivated and to understand what is your primary reason for embarking upon this journey, because that's what's going to drive you on. That's what's going to help you move you through this process, especially when the times are bleak. So number two is you've got to be prepared. You've got to be ready. So that means that you need to do whatever necessary education pieces that you need to do, whatever research you need to do. You also need to think about who do you need to get you to help you in this endeavor. And so you've got to be able to begin to think about all of those different things as you go forth in trying to build this business that you want to serve the world or share your expertise with people. And so begin to think about the reason why and that you are truly ready to get into this, because I'm telling you, even you can be the most prepared person for this, and there's still going to be things that are going to come up that will, cause you to either pivot or completely reevaluate what you're trying to do. And so, and of course, if I'm talking, those of you who have any questions, please put them in the chat. I will try to address any questions that I see as we move forward. So we know our why. We're ready to go. So think about number three. You have to figure out, what is it that I want to sell? Let me go back for a minute. I know that seems kind of obvious. Okay, you're into business to sell a product or a service, but it's not always obvious to people. And I'll give you this case study example. A potential client came to me and had this really, really wonderful idea. I won't share too much of the idea, but essentially had all of this kind of mapped out and had, what he wanted to do, how he's going to do it, who he would, eventually engage in the process. And so this was the fundamental question I asked him. I said, what are you selling? And so he was taken aback because he was busy giving me this really awesome proposal. And I said, what product or service are you selling? He couldn't answer that question. And so I'm going to ask that question of you. What is your product or service that you're selling? Because being in business is about having a product or get to the marketplace for people to buy it. Okay, so we're going to talk about, again, we're talking about before you get to that place, but think about, that's what a business is: having a product or service available for sale, put it into the marketplace, and have a place where people can actually buy your product. Now, in presenting this proposal, again, fantastic idea, great proposal, could not answer that fundamental question. So I say to you, you're going to have to be able to answer that fundamental question. So as you begin to get to that place of what is it that I want to suit, what is it I want to sell? Why am I selling it? Think about what problem will you solve, or what need will you fulfill? So number 3 is about problem solving or need fulfillment. What need in the world, or what demand are you supplying with your product or service, or what problem are you solving? And so I know that seems kind of counterintuitive, but I'm telling you over and over again, I encounter this in the work. This is the thing that trips up new business owners. So again, we're thinking about a why, we're getting ready, but then also what is our need fulfillment and our problem that we're going to solve? That's number 3. So then think about number 4. Okay. So if you're still kind of in the, I guess, the thinking stage or the idea stage, you haven't fully fleshed out your ideas. Maybe you have a lot of ideas. Maybe you don't have enough ideas. This is what I want you to do. I want you to jot down 3 problems or 3 needs that you've observed in the world that you want to solve, that you want to tackle. Either there's a need you feel that needs to be fulfilled, or there are problems that you want to solve just within your own sphere of influence. You know, if you have the ability to solve to cure cancer and COVID, great, go about it, go for it. I'm just talking about within your own sphere of influence. What are 3 things? 3 things. Write those down. What do you want to solve? What needs do you want to fulfill? Write those down and choose those 3. Narrow it down to 3. Especially if you're struggling to figure out, which direction you want to go into business. If you have 3 options, then that way you kind of have option A, option B, option C. So again, write down those 3 things. And so also let's look at number 5. Who are you going to involve to help you? What is your network? Okay. Now, typically, in terms of our network, we start with our friends and family. Okay. We start with them, but then friends and family may not necessarily be your ideal customers. Okay. But they can be potential supporters. They can be potential advocates. They can, tell people about your business. They can tell people, they can refer people to you. They can be really great advocates for your business. But sometimes we get disillusioned, and this is a typical thing that happens with new business owners, because we expect our family and friends to support us automatically. Well, your friend and your friend or family member may not be your ideal customer. Okay, so you've really got to get clear about who is it that you're selling to. You have to have some idea. In fact, you need to know what that person actually looks like. What age demographic does that person fall in? What are their shopping habits? What are their shopping problems? What are their needs? What do they like to buy? All of that you need to think about. But before we get to all of that, just think about looking at your existing network, because that existing network is going to be the audience from which you launch your endeavor. But they may not, again, it's the beginning point, not the end point. So don't be upset if for the 10th time, your sister or your mother doesn't want to buy whatever it is that you're selling. Or they may get exasperated by you selling to the same thing to them all the time. Don't get upset about that. Again, think of them as the starting point of your network. They're the ones who are going to spread the word about what it is that you do. But those within your network may not necessarily be your ideal customer. So again, think about this in the beginning. Who's going to help? Who's going to help you with this endeavor? But also, too, who in your network has the same problem? Who has that need that you, again, going back to what you want to fulfill, the need you want to fulfill, the problem that you want to solve. There most likely is somebody in your network that may have the same issue. And so that's a starting point for you. All right. So then, number 6, think about the way in which you're going to either solve that problem or fulfill that need. You've got to be about solutions. Even if it's even again, and I know when we think about solutions, we don't necessarily think about what is selling a purse or selling a mug going to do. Well, if a person likes to drink their tea or coffee out of a mug, and mugs are what they're into, what kind of mug does your ideal customer want to buy? Okay. Or if you're thinking about from a service perspective, what service does your particular ideal customer need? What service or what problem do they have, and they need someone to kind of fix it? So again, at the infancy stage, thinking about these things, you need to think about being solution oriented. You've got to be able to think about addressing someone's particular, and you'll hear this term a lot, pain point. I don't use it as much, but for those of you who may be familiar with that terminology, how do you address someone's pain? How do you address their problem? How do you provide a solution to whatever it is that they need? Again, about need fulfillment. Then let's talk about number 7. Again, we're leading up to thinking about how we need to craft this business. How do we build this business? And this is the idea generating stage. Now, once you've thought about a solution, then think about ways in which you now can turn the need. You discover the need. You have a potential audience that you want to put this business out in front of. How can you turn this into a business? How are you going to do it? That is the process piece. That is the logistical piece. But I'm wanting you right now to think about mindset shifts, because if you can't wrap your brain around how you're going to present this solution to an audience that they're going to buy, then and turn it into a business, not just turning into a business, but a business that's profitable, you've really got to put some thought into that. Because I'll give you another case study. I had a particular person that came to me and had a really awesome idea of how to address a particular need in her community. And again, I don't give my customers ideas away in terms of their business, but she had a really great idea. It solved an immediate need. It was something that she wouldn't have had much competition for, but at the same time, she had not factored in the cost. So she was going to be going about fulfilling this need. It was an excellent idea, but then did not factor in the cost it would need in order to fulfill this need, and did not factor in the time commitment that it would take for her to fulfill this idea. And what ended up happening is that she kept spending money. She was putting out more money than she was taking in. And so, yes, she was fulfilling the need, she was solving a problem, but she was also running herself out of business. So you've got to be able to craft a position and craft a solution in place that helps you to be profitable and to, again, fulfill the need, solve the problem. But again, the purpose of this is not nonprofit work, and I'll talk about nonprofits on another training. You've got to be able to figure out how you're going to sell this idea and then also have a return on the investment that you put in. So again, Number 7 is about developing the idea and figuring out a way of turning it into a business that is, of course, profitable. Now, number 8, once you've decided on your business, you have your need fulfillment, you have your idea of how you're going to solve a particular problem, you have an idea of what kind of product you want to sell, you have an idea of what kind of service you want to provide. Now you're thinking about the business piece. Now, if you want to get a head start on this, again, this entire month is dedicated to helping persons who decided on this entrepreneurial journey how to get started. Because a lot of times what happens is that you feel overwhelmed in the beginning, or sometimes, or you feel like, hey, I didn't major in economics in college, I didn't major in finance, I don't have an MBA. But the truth of the matter is that even at its simplest form, businesses are formed by, again, need fulfillment, problem solving. And so you've got to think about, once you've decided what your audience is going to be, who is the team that I'm going to assemble? Now, let's talk about this 3 different ways. I know there's some of you who are going to be sole proprietors, meaning that the business is you. You are the business entity. In fact, most businesses in the country are sole proprietorships, meaning that the single person, the individual, is the business entity. And that is also the simplest and oldest form of business. So you may still be a single business owner. A lot of terms that are coming out now, solopreneur, those terms are now coming out in vogue now. You may form what is called a single member LLC. However, before we even get to business structures and business entities, who will this business comprise of? Will it be you? Will it be you and a partner? Will it be you and a team of people? Will you need to employ people in order to solve this problem and to fulfill this need? Will you need to outsource, meaning that you will need to either hire people part-time or hire a fully employed staff? Those are things you need to be thinking about in terms of your team. And then you have to have a process for onboarding these people and bringing these people into the business. So you have to have already crafted, at least partially, a process for bringing people in or onboarding people in, if you decide that you're going to either utilize a team, you and a partner, or do this yourself. And even if you do this yourself, I'm telling you now, and I'm telling you this from experience, there are some things you're going to have to outsource. So that takes me to my point number 9. You're going to have to delegate roles and responsibilities. Now, because this is your baby and you're emotionally attached to it, this business is like your baby, you're going to be hesitant about releasing control of it. You're going to be very hesitant because some of you are putting in life savings, life's work. And so you are just, you want to control it. You want to keep it close, and you're not really ready to relinquish control. I'm going to tell you now that if you're not able to delegate at least some of the responsibilities in your business, or have systems in place that you're able to automate, you will burn yourself out. So you've got to think about number 9 is really delegating roles and responsibilities to the team members that you're going to onboard and bring in. So begin to think about that process. Again, this is before you start your business. However, even before we get to that stage, let's talk about a way that you can at least start putting this together. So I'm just kind of giving you the kind of an overview in terms of mindset shifts that you need to embark upon in order to start this journey. But I'm going to attach to this video, once it concludes and uploads, I'm going to attach, if you haven't gotten it already, what is called my Build a Business Checklist, which gives you a checklist to begin to put into steps logistically what you need to do to start your business. And again, you can decide on business structures. I do talk about that briefly in the checklist. It is free. All you have to do is sign up for my newsletter, and I will attach the link. Some of the links are already posted in some social media, but I will attach the link to this video so you can go ahead and get a head start. If you simply need, sometimes we just need something in front of us. We need it written down in front of us to kind of help guide us along the way. That's one thing. The other piece is that, again, I will be highlighting throughout the month ways in which you can begin to think about entrepreneurial life, building a business, having multiple streams of income. Again, that's really, really important when we think about, what is happening over over the past several months here. And so as you begin to delegate roles, think about those tasks. If we're getting back to our list here, think about those tasks which you either like doing or you don't like doing, or you don't necessarily have an expertise in. That's the time that you delegate those responsibilities to people who know how to do it. Because like you may know how to do it, or you may have taught yourself how to do it, but then it takes you, 10 hours to get it done. Whereas a person who's an expert in it, it may take them 2 hours to get it done. So you want to be able to trade time for money. Okay. And so it may be worth it in the long run to just hire someone, or to, hire a temporary worker to just delegate their responsibility to, so that you can then focus on the things that you like to do in your business, or those things that you have the best expertise in for your business. Okay. So then number 10, I know you've heard this before, but it's really, really important that as you begin to embark upon this journey, and you are, now we're starting to gather a little bit. Me, I'm still a little bit of a hermit. I'm just going to tell you, I'm just being straight up. I'm looking at the numbers. I'm not listening to these politicians. I'm looking at the science. But anyway, when you are in round people, we always use what's called the elevator pitch. You're in the elevator. You're only in the elevator for less than a minute, and the person says, "Well, hey, what do you do?" You've got to be able to tell them in 30 seconds or less what it is that you do, and so that if they're interested, fine, they'll ask additional questions. If they're not interested, you just had a brief exchange, friendly conversation, and you move on. But here's the thing, you never know who, by you telling your story, you never know who can help you move your particular journey along simply by telling your story. But sometimes those opportunities are very fleeting, and they're very short, and they're very brief. And so that's why you've got to be able to know your business in such a way that you can be able to just say what it is that you do. Again, what need do you solve? What need do you fulfill? What problem do you solve? What product or service do you sell? And then how do you sell it? What is your business? What is your business? So if you're able to do that within a short period of time, who knows, you may be in the elevator with a potential investor. You could be in the elevator with a potential customer. You could be at the grocery store with someone you want to hire. You could be in the grocery store with someone who wants to utilize your services and hire you. So always think about the ways in which you can succinctly tell your story and be able to share that. So that's really the elevator pitch, be able to pitch your ideas to as many people as possible. And then also it helps you to get feedback. The more you put your ideas, again, you don't want to, again, giving the recipe is not the same. Giving the ingredients to the recipe is not the same as telling people how to mix up the recipe. Let's look at an example for a minute. Coca-Cola. We know that formula. Listen, I'm in the South. I'm from Atlanta. This is Coke country. Okay, so we call everything a Coke. If it's an orange soda, I want a Coke. But at any rate, we know that the formula is when they tinkled with that formula. And this goes back years ago. When they tinkled with the formula that made them famous, it was an absolute disaster, right? So now they've been very careful, but they still have the original formula kind of locked up somewhere in some vault somewhere. So when you're sharing your ideas, you're not giving people the formula, but you're giving them the story. That's what people are interested in. People are interested in the story, and that helps to get people to give you the feedback that you need, either good or negative. So think about that. You can tell people the ingredients, you don't give them the formula. So you're just giving them very general ideas when you're making your pitches, okay? Then finally, all right, we're number 11. And you have thought about the need fulfillment. You've thought about your potential audience from which you're going to launch. You've thought about your 30-second pitch that you're going to pitch to people to hopefully they're going to be involved and be excited about your idea, or not. Maybe they won't be excited. So then you have to go back and reevaluate your pitch. But now that you have done all of these steps, you've made the mind shift, you've gotten to the place where you realize that you're going to this is what I really want to do. And you can decide to do this here. Here's the thing. You don't have to necessarily quit your job. That's not the audience I'm speaking to. If you want to do it, great, but you need to do some preparation before then. You may decide to do this as a side hustle. You may decide to work in conjunction, have your traditional career job fund your business as you're getting it started. So our number 11 is finalizing your business idea and understanding and nailing down the offer. The offer, okay? Let's talk about offer for a minute. Okay, you have a product or service that you're going to sell, but that isn't necessarily the offer. The offer is going to be the transformation piece. So let's go back to our mug example. Person likes to drink mugs, collects mugs. The transformation in the sense if you're going to offer mugs as your business, I'm selling mugs, is that they get a mug that they're going to drink out of, and they like collecting unique mugs, or they want to have a mug for every day of the week, or because again, many of us are working remotely, and maybe you want to, if you're not doing a mug, maybe you want to do a carry-on mug where people can carry with them where they're hiking or walking, or they can put them in the car. Whatever it is that you're solving. What is the transformation that happens as a result of the product or service that you put into the marketplace? That is the offer. And once you begin to understand who you're selling to, why you're selling to them, how you're going to find them, how they're going to find you, then you present your idea to the marketplace. The marketplace will either buy or not buy. And so I really just wanted to engage you today about thinking about the before. We'll get into the logistics. My business is really about telling you logistically how to do things. I do how-tos, but at the same time, what's really, really important is really focusing on the mindset shifts that you have to make in order to embark into this entrepreneurial endeavor. So if any of this has been helpful to you, I hope that it has been. If any of this has been helpful to you, please let me know either in the comments, send me a question, send me a DM. Don't jump into my DM with no nonsense. If you will jump into my DMs with questions about how to get your businesses off the ground, or how to market your businesses. And again, be on the lookout for those things. I have a class tomorrow. It's a free Zoom. You have to register for it. I will also attach that to this video about their tools that you can use to automate your business. So if you already have a business, or even if you're thinking about it and you're just trying to figure out how to set this up, tomorrow, jump into my Zoom tomorrow. That is June 11th. I will be talking about how to or utilize certain tools that I use in my business. My approach is free or cheap until you can afford the expensive thing. Don't just go out and get the shiniest new car. Sorry, not new car, but shiniest new bling bling tool that you need, and you haven't made $1 in your business. So there are really, honestly, there are lots of free and also lesser expensive tools that you can use in the beginning of this process to help you. So make sure that you register. Go to all of my social media. Again, let me go ahead and just repeat. If you want to go to my website, it's Gabalot. It's Gabalot. That's GABALOT.net, Gabalot.net. You can go there. You can also go to my links page, which is my.bio/Gabalot, GABALOT. And again, just follow my social media. I've been, repeating these things over and over again. And also understand how social media works. Your social media, it may, I know it may look spammy if you engage with me, but the social media platforms now are engaged in order for you to only maybe 10, sometimes maybe 20% of your followership or those who are friends or subscribers of you will see your actual posts. Okay, so just understand that all of them, they work differently, but all of them are moving towards a more paid model in order to get your ideas and your posts in front of a bunch of people, and especially if you're using social media for marketing your business or marketing whatever endeavors or causes that you have. Just understand that only a few people are going to see it. So when you ask, well, did you see my post? Gone are the days where all 500 of your friends saw your post or saw your live. Those days are over because all of them are now looking at monetizing. Again, their businesses. They may be free to you for right now. At least social media is free to us right now. But all of them are moving towards paid models in terms of engagement and reach. I'll have some other classes to talk about that as well. But if this has been helpful to you, and I hope that it has been, please make sure that you engage me, reach out to me via social media. You can also email me, you can message me. I also offer a 30-minute discovery call in which you can come in and you can just talk about your idea and how you want to begin this entrepreneurial journey. So I hope this has been helpful. Stay tuned to my stories as well as my posts on all of my social media where I talk about more business tips, more business strategies,